Now, someone asked the question that what does God's timing actually means? And if God's timing is always best, then what is the difference between God's timing and how life in reality naturally unfolds? Hi guys, success here, correcting biblical misconception. Now let's dive in. Now let me admit and agree that truly, sometimes as Christians, we use this word, God's timing is the best. We use it in a vague or unhelpful manner. That means it's not really necessary when we use those words. Sometimes we even use it when we are facing the consequence of our own choices or action, and we just say God's timing is the best. So yes, sometimes as Christians we misuse the word, but it doesn't mean that we are always wrong why we use it. But sometimes we misuse it. Now, when we talk about God's timing, what does God's timing simply means? Drop your answers in the comment section. Biblically, God's timing simply means that God works out his purposes according to his wisdom and his own schedule, not ours. I don't know if you understand. When we're saying God's timing, it just simply means that God is working out his purposes, or he will work out that purpose according to his own schedule and not the one that we have in our mind, according to his own word schedule, according to his own time frame. That is what it means biblically as God's timing, meaning God is doing that thing, or we do that thing when it is his timing, when it is his schedule for that thing to happen here on earth. Do you understand? So what I'm just trying to say in a nutshell, that when we talk about God's timing, we're talking about God's own schedule, God's own timetable for that his purpose towards become a reality. Now, that aside, when we talk about God's timing and life naturally unfolding, now you need to understand that there is a nuance. Sometimes it can be that God is working through the natural process of life unfolding by itself to achieve his purpose. Why sometimes it's not God's timing? It could be that we are actually facing the consequence of our choices. I've explained before in one of my videos that the moment humans begin to understand that every choice that you make, physically with your bare eye, you are seeing the choice, but what you are not seeing is the consequence attached to that choice. The consequence could be either good or bad, depending on the choice. So for every choice, it's just like you are drawing a rope. You are dragging a rope, rather. You are dragging a rope towards your end. For every choice you are dragging towards your end, for every choice you make, there is a consequence simultaneously, meaning at the same time you are dragging with it. Now, the consequence now may happen immediately or might be later, but just know that for you making that choice, there is a consequence that has been attached to it. It can be either of good or bad. So sometimes, once we as Christians or as humans say, God's timing, it could be that it is a consequence from your own word, from your malfunction choice that you made, and you now say it's God's timing. Sometimes the delay that we face and say it's God's timing could be maybe natural life process. Maybe you went for that interview and they did not give it to you. You say, it's God's timing, whereas you did not prepare well, or you are not fit for the job. I don't know if you're understanding me, guys. Now, back to God's timing. Let me give you examples of God's timing in the Bible. Remember that I've told you that God's timing simply means God accomplishing his purposes, his assignment in his own